If you're a CMO, you've been pitched a lot of AI opportunities before, but almost all of them promise that it will give your team more efficiency. I wanted to create a system that increases revenue, and it does it in a measurable way. In this video, we are going to go through a system that continuously tests landing pages that are already personalized to the advertisement that you run. We will test and see why it is measurable and mathematically possible to prove how much extra revenue it creates for you, and we'll go through an ROI report that we have generated for a client. By the end of the video, you will understand the system fully, and you will understand whether this system makes sense for your company or not. Real quick, before you jump into it, quick context about me so you know why to listen. I deploy ROI positive AI for CMOs. I started at BCG, Boston Consulting Group. Then I was a CMO at a data analytics company. And now I build ROI positive AI for CMOs. Everything I build is measured in 4 things. Whether it increases net new customer revenue by bringing acquisition costs down, so CAC, or increase lifetime gross profit of customers you already have, so increase LTV. And it's also very important, as a CMO, I know that there was a lot of pressure to get immediate and fast results while also not damaging the brand. So we take care of that and pay attention to those metrics. So with that being said, let me jump straight into it. The first is personalized landing experiences. We're going to use Grunes as a company example because they are just doing this super well. This is relatively simple. We want the landing page or the lander as an extension of your ad. And so you can see that Grunes has this show up the 4th of July sale. Well, it's a sale, so it's something interesting. And they went ahead and literally land you on this pick a card landing page that gives you some sort of discount. And I think this is a great extension because they have some sort of sale running due to a specific event, and where you land is kind of a gamified experience. So it's a really good continuation of the ad. Now, if you look at this other ad here, it goes ahead and talks about gut health during being on GLP-1 or some sort of Ozempic. And then the landing page is again a continuation of that specific ad. It talks about 7 benefits of the GLP-1 users and what kind of gut health benefits you can get out of it. The landing page is again a perfect continuation of the ad. Let's look at these last 2. Here we have one that kind of insinuates that Grunes is the best greens powder. It says, I tried these popular greens products. There's only one I would recommend. And then you have Huel, Bloom supplements, and Grunes. And so as a customer, you're curious which one it is, and you click it, and you obviously landed Grunes' landing page. Now, this one is actually a kind of a general landing page here. There's not much personalization, but there's not needed because you're just insinuating that one of them is good. So by clicking, you just want to figure out which one is good, and you find out that it's Grunes. So it's still a good continuation. And finally, this last one talks about, sorry to whoever sees this, and it's too late. You know that thing where travel completely destroys your digestion. So it talks about traveling and then the issues that come with traveling in a fun aesthetic ad that kind of looks like leather. And then it goes to another listicle that talks about 6 reasons why frequent travelers love Grunes. What we can conclude from here and what Grunes is doing really well is that they created personalized landing experiences. And what the takeaway is for the AI systems that we went ahead and generated, it needed that you can just show an ad that you are going to run. We actually recommend just putting in your best performing ads into our system, and it will already have a company brain. Company brain is kind of a system for AI where you can store qualitative data about your company. This can be about your processes. But in this case, the most important thing is your design principles and your tonality. The AI will already have access to that company brain, and then will have access to the ad that you want to do. And so it will just go ahead and create a landing page that is an amazing continuation of that specific ad. So the first idea was that our AI system should be able to get to these personalized landing experiences. Now let me go to step 2, where you can take this even further. So the second one is that you want to A/B test the landing experience. Here in step 1, you went ahead and personalized it. That's great. But what if you could personalize it and in the meantime also run tests about how you can improve that landing page? And so let's take this example. And by the way, you can do this manually or automatically. And I would say second tier is a manual way to do it. And let me dive deep into how it works exactly, and then we'll go into the automatic. And so in this example, we take this specific ad, which is gut health on GLP-1. So in this scenario, you can go ahead and have these three different landers. So you could say that this part is what should be the normal landing page to this specific ad. And so what you could do then is to lock in a certain amount of traffic to that landing page and then start two new landing pages that are kind of challenging this original one. Then you can just go ahead and test between them which one is working the best and send traffic in a way that is in accordance with how much they are winning. We can talk about a little bit more on how this works and what is the mathematical solution behind it, but the important benefit is that you can continuously test and figure out better landing pages that are even already personalized. And so if you want to do this manually, then that's already really good, but it's going to need to take an agency or you have an internal CRO, conversion rate optimization department, and they are likely going to be doing 3 to 4. Now, the reason I know this is because I had an e-commerce brand and we were doing this and we could do only 3 to 4 per week. Now, a better version of doing this is to automate it and have it AI driven. And so that is the second feature that we've built into the system that we made, is that number one, remember feature one was that you can personalize a landing page to a specific ad, but feature two is that that personalized landing page is then split into 3 different pages and are continuously A/B tested. And so the most important part here is that imagine we come into your company, we are not going to get rid of your landing page immediately. We are going to keep at least 10% of the traffic on that landing page and just introduce challengers. Now, there are 2 ways to do this. We can either do 3 or we can also just test 2 at one time. And so in that case, you always have one challenger and then one champion. Champion just means that the landing page that is currently winning, and then challenger is one that is essentially challenging it and tries to take the trophy away. And so what's really cool and what AI enabled here is that instead of having 3 to 4 variants tested, you can just go ahead and test unlimited variants, and you can have kind of a king of the hill, because whenever a challenger beats an existing winner, you can just go ahead and get rid of the existing champion, make the challenger the champion, and then get a new challenger right away in without waiting for your internal department or an external agency delivering the new landing page. Now you might ask, when is it that I will go ahead and introduce a new site, or when do I know when the challenger beat the champion or when a champion beat a challenger? And so the answer to that is just statistical significance, and that is something that we can actually mathematically build and is not that hard, and so that is built into the program already. Let's quickly walk through on what we measure and what we do for hypothesis testing. We measure a lot of things like time on site and scroll percentage, and also important funnel metrics like add to cart, initiate checkout, adding payment info, clicking checkout, and also successfully checking out, which means that you land on the thank you page. Now, the very important thing is that we don't optimize for vanity metrics like adding payment info or adding to cart. We go ahead and always optimize and compare A and B based on checkout successful. And so you could imagine that we have a lander A competing with lander B and lander A wins. In that case, lander A will go ahead and compete with lander C, and C may go ahead and win, and C will become then the champion. D, in that case, will become the new challenger. And so this is how you can kind of imagine it, and that's why we kind of call it King of the Hill. There are 2 principles that we have to keep in mind when running this system, but they are already built into the system, so I will only talk about the benefits. One of them is statistical significance. And the reason for this is that we want to be confident in the results. We want to know that lander A already beat lander B, and so statistical significance will give us that answer. And secondly, problem is kind of called a multi-arm bandit problem. And one of the solutions to a multi-arm bandit is the Thompson sampling solution. Simplify this down. This only means that we go ahead and lock in a certain amount of traffic to a control group, so we never touch it. We can even go ahead and just put this in a square. This is something that we never touch. But then we want to maximize the absolute revenue while we are testing. And the problem that we often run into with people or agencies running A/B tests is that they go ahead and create two lenders, lender A and lender B. In this case, this will be lender A and lender B. And then they will be very simple. And what they will do is that they will send 50% of traffic here and 50% of traffic here. The problem with that, if this one is having, let's say, a 2.4% conversion rate, while this one is having only 1.5%, then you are losing a lot of money while sending 50% of traffic to this landing page. And so an easy solution to this essentially is figuring out how much percentage is winning and then sending that percentage of traffic into that landing page. So for example, in this case, lender A would be a winner, but we are only 70% confident in that winning. Then we are sending 70% of the traffic there and only 30% to essentially to the challenger. And this is moving dynamically. The more confident we get in lender A being winner, the more traffic we will send there. All right, so let me now quickly show you a report that we have generated for one of our clients. Now, that being said, all of the numbers here are mixed up so that we cannot identify anyone. What's happening here is that we show the incremental revenue increased, and so that may be $61,000. And we can also add the contribution profit, assuming that we understand and know their contribution margin. Then we just list our program fee, and then the return on the fee, in this case, would be 5.6x. And the reason we can show this is because we have the frozen control group, and we send 10% of the visitors to that frozen website. And we can measure that the revenue per visitor on that website is $2.31. Then we can go ahead and show that 90% of the traffic, or 115,000-ish visitors, are going to our program where you have the champion and the challenger. And we can know that in the program, the revenue per visitor is $2.84. Then the whole calculation to show ROI is very simple. We just take the revenue per visitor from the program and the revenue per visitor in the frozen control group, which is lower. We take the difference, which is about $0.50, and we multiply that by the number of visitors in the program. And so that will lead you to about $61,000 in incremental revenue. So all of that $61,000 in revenue came directly from the $6,000 program fee. And so since on that additional revenue, you only had to pay variable cost, but no more CAC, because you already paid for CAC, or you already paid for that traffic to come to the website, and that was regardless of the program. So you only paid for essentially COGS, cost of goods sold, which is contribution margin. We can even calculate the contribution profit. Then this ROI report goes into the landing pages that we have tested, but I think it's no need to go through that during this video, where your visitors actually went and some other interesting stuff down here. Now, just to be honest, this doesn't work on every business. It amplifies demand, but it cannot create it. If your traffic doesn't already convert at all, there is not much to compound here. So we only work with companies where product market fit is quite obvious and there is a lot to be improved. If you're running marketing at a brand that is already spending real money on traffic and you want a version of AI that shows up in your cost per customer instead of on a productivity slide, get in touch with us and there will be a link in the description. Thank you for making it to the end of this video. If you liked it, I would really appreciate if you left a like, a comment, or subscribe, because that really helps me grow this channel and share more interesting stuff with you. That being said, thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.